Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this little bag that you can take a night out on a night on a town, I guess. It's just a little clutch type purse with a chain handle. Now I did get this chain at off Amazon. You can type in bag handles or bag chains and they pop right up. It's held together with this brooch, which I purchased at Walmart in the button aisle. That's what I use to clasp it. So the brooch should just hook on here and that would hold it. So it's opened up right here, and here's where you put your stuff in. You can line this bag. I do have tutorials on how to line a bag. I'll put the links to other bags that I've lined that are like this in the description box, and you can follow those and fast forward them to the end where it will show how to line a bag just like this. But yeah, this is what I use to close it, is the brooch, and that's it. So the bag measures approximately 9 inches long, probably about 6 inches wide, with the flap closed. It's actually a cute little bag. It's not too extremely hard, but I would consider the stitches to be intermediate. So you're going to need to know how to do single, double, triple, and bobbles, which I will show you how to do those in the pattern. So what do you say? You want to go ahead and get started on this? I think it turned out really cute. I like it. Let's do this. Okay, for this project I use a Lion brand Date Nights yarn. It is an acrylic polyester blend, medium weight number 4. Now you do not have to use this yarn. Any medium weight number 4 will work. As you can see, this one is sparkly and chain spun. It was 273 yards per cake. This is what I got left. So probably about 250 yards to complete this bag. Along with the purse chain, if you decide to do that. You do not have to do that. You can make your own handle if you choose, and then a brooch if you decide to use some type of clasp for it. And then I'm going to be using my good friend size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, you want to start off with the chain, follow along with me, of 32. Now I'm going to show you on a smaller scale, but follow along with me. You want to start with the chain of 32. If you want to make your bag bigger than mine, you need to do a chain that is start out with a chain that is an even number. But I started out with a chain of 32. So for row 1, I chained 32, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. So remember, we don't count the one that's on our hook. There's my first one. It kind of got tight, but that's okay. I'm going to go into the second one and single crochet. Now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. Alright, I have made it to the end of row 1, and you should have a total of 31 stitches. Now you will always have 31 stitches now from here on out. So we're going to go ahead and start row 2. In row 2, we'll start the repeat rows. So it's rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the repeat rows. So we're going to start off row 2 by chaining 1 and turning our work. Now this will be a bobble stitch row. So we are going to go ahead and single crochet right here into this very first stitch here. Very first one, single crochet. Now we're going to work a bobble into the next stitch. So this is how we work a bobble. We're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. We want to do that a total of 5 times. So that would have been number 1. We're going to do that again. We're going to yarn over, go in to the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through the first 2 loops. So that's 2 times that we've done that. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 3 times that we've done that. yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 4 times. We're going to do it one more time. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. And now we should have 6 loops that remain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to yarn over and go through all 6 loops. I always pull it tight, and then we're going to go directly into the next stitch down here and single crochet. Just like that. And now we're going to repeat. So we're going to do a bobble again into the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. We want to do that for a total of 5 times, that being number 1. So that's 1 time, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. 2 times. Again, yarn over, go in the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 3 times. Again, there's 4 times. One more time, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. You should have 6 loops that remain on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 6. I give it a good pull, and then I single crochet directly into the next stitch. Now when you turn your work around, which will be the front side, you will see the bobbles formed. Bobbles are worked on the back side of your work. That way when you turn them around, they're on the correct side. So that's what we're going to repeat now for row 2. We're going to work a bobble into the next stitch. Six loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 6, give it a tug, and single crochet directly into the next stitch. So I'm going to repeat this pattern of a bobble, single, all the way until I get to the end of the row. So bobble again, and then single. So I'm going to keep repeating this until I make it to the end of row 2. Alright, I've come to the end of row 2. I did a bobble and I have 1 stitch left. Pull my bobble tight, and I'm going to go ahead and end by single crocheting there into my last stitch. Now you should have a total of 31 stitches still, and that is counting every bobble and every single crochet. That'll end row 2. And now we will start row 3 by chaining 1 and turning our work. And now you can see we are on the right side of our work, and there is our bobbles looking good. So for row 3, we are going to put a double crochet right here into this very first stitch, and then we're going to put a double crochet on top of the next bobble, so that right on top of it is where your next double crochet goes, and then a double crochet in this single crochet that's between the bobbles, so right here, double crochet on top of your next bobble. So if you look at your bobble and you kind of flip it up just a little bit, you see the stitch on top? Just kind of go right through those 2 loops. Double crochet into the single crochet in between the bobbles. So row 3 is just 1 single crochet on top of every bobble and in every single crochet until we get to the end of the row. So it's just a row of double crochet, and we want to repeat this until we get to the end of the row. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 3. I did a double crochet into my top of my last bobble. I'm going to double crochet here into my last single crochet. 31 stitches still. I'll finish that round. Now we're going to chain 1 for row 4 and turn our work. So this round we're going to start off by working a single crochet right there into the very first stitch. And now we're going to start the repeat of the row. We're going to work a triple crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to work a single crochet into the next. Just like that. And then we repeat that. Triple crochet into the next. And then single crochet into the next. And we're going to repeat the triple crochet, a single crochet repeat until we get to the end of row 4. Just like that. Now when you flip your work, we're on the back side of our work. When you flip it over, you'll notice that the triple crochets make like a little mock tiny bobble, I guess you can say. Just gives a little added texture. And again, that has to be worked from the back side to achieve that look on the front. So that's why we're working it on the back. We triple crochet, single crochet, triple crochet, a single crochet, all the way to the end of the row. Alright, coming to the end of row 4, I just did a triple crochet. I'm going to go ahead and end by single crocheting into my last stitch. 31 stitches total there at the end of row 4. Now we're going to start the final repeat row. We're going to chain 1 and turn for row 5. And now you can see when you look, you'll be able to see those little tiny bobbles, I guess, on the opposite side. So we're going to start off by putting a double crochet into the very first stitch right there. And we're going to work across, putting a double crochet in every single stitch. So a double crochet into every triple crochet and a double crochet into every single crochet, all the way across until we get to the end of the row. So row 5 is kind of a repeat of row 3. It's just a double crochet row. We're putting 1 double crochet in every stitch across. Alright, I've made it to the end of row 5, and you still should have your 31 stitches. And that's what we're going to repeat now. Rows 2, 3, 4, and 5. So row 6 is going to be a repeat of row 2, which is the bobble stitch row. So remember, we'll chain 1 and we turn, and we single crochet into the very first stitch, and then we bobble into the next. So you want to keep repeating rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 until you have reached a total of 34 rows. Your last row should be a bobble stitch row. So just keep on going until repeating rows 2, 3, 4, and 5 until you hit 34 total rows, and then I will meet back up with you. Alright, once you finish your 34th row, it should have been a bobble stitch row. So what I'm going to do now for my 35th row, I'm going to do 1 row of single crochet. So I just finished that bobble stitch row, so I'm going to chain 1 and turn for row 35, and this will be the last row that I do. And we are going to single crochet into the very first stitch and single crochet on top of every bobble and into every single crochet all the way across. So just like this until we get to the end of the row. Okay, once you make it to the end there of row 35, you still should have your 31 stitches. And we're going to go ahead and clip off our yarn now. Like so. And now we're going to sew the sides up. So I'm going to flip my work wrong side like this. And you can decide, I'm going to bring up the bottom, where you want to sew and determine how big of an area you want for your bag versus the flap. But I'll go ahead and show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew, if you look at here, 1, 2, see the third row of bobbles here from the top, and then I'm going to sew it to this first row of bobbles from the bottom. That's where I'm going to sew. That way my flap over just like that, and it will be on top of this row of bobbles, so all your stitches will line up equally still. If you want to do it different, you know, that's fine. You could have made yours longer, you know what I mean, but or you could go up higher if you want and have a shorter flap. It's up to you. But following along with me, like I said, I'm flipping. This is the top of my work where we just tied off. Count 3 bobble rows down. So here's 1 bobble row, 2 bobble rows, 3 bobble rows. I'm going to start sewing right there on that bobble row. So I'm going to line the bottom bobble row up, which is with this third bobble row from the top, and then I'm going to sew it all the way down. Now I'm going to just be using a piece of yarn and my yarn needle to sew it together. And I'm going to sew it together just like it is, right side facing you, facing out like that. And the only thing with sewing is most important is just making sure you keep your rows lined up. So I'm going to be basing my rows, keeping them lined up, making sure my bobble rows stay lined up and my other little rows stay lined up. That way you don't go crooked. You don't want it to be crooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out here. Here's my third row of bobbles from the top. 1, 2, 3. Here's my first row of bobbles from my flap that I folded up. I'm going to go through the side and through the first piece, or the side on this one, and I'm going to go through. Now I'm not going to sew over. I'm going to be going back and forth and sewing as neatly as possible. You just want to make sure you sew as neat as possible. Back and forth through those single crochets and double crochets that are on the end. Making sure you look every once in a while and that your rows are matching up correctly and they're staying lined up. So I came out this way and I'm going to go back through the same direction. I'm going to do this all the way down, and I'm going to do it the same on both sides. Always take a peek. Make sure you're staying lined up. Your rows are staying balanced out on both sides. When I mean that, I mean when I say take a look, make sure your bobble rows are staying lined up and your double crochet rows are staying lined up with the other side. You don't want it looking all wonky. Sometimes that happens though. It happens to me quite a bit. I forget to look, and then wonky it is, but that's okay. So I'm going to continue to go sewing it up as neatly as I can all the way down in this back and forth motion. Not over, not like whip stitching or anything, just back and forth. Keep making sure I look every once in a while that my rows are staying lined up. and I'm not getting ahead of myself. And then when I get down to the end, I'll just clip the yarn off, and I'll do the other side the exact same way. I'll start in the exact same spot so everything matches up correctly. Okay, so I have this one side sewed up, and I just went ahead and hid my tail there. Now I'm going to go to the other side. Now if you're working the other side, you'll probably have to start from the bottom and work your way up. Just make sure you keep your rows lined up. So 1, 2, third bobble stitch row. You can place a pin here if it helps you to secure that, so you make sure you don't lose it since you're starting at the bottom. But otherwise, start down here and we just work our way up, sewing it the exact same way we did the other side. Except for we're just working from the bottom up. And when we get to that third row of bobbles from the top, that's when we stop. Okay, I've made it up to the top, and I'm just going to hide my tail just by going back down a couple times. And go back up. You should lock it into place. And then I'm going to clip that off, and then you want to hide any remaining tails that you might have, which I have a couple hanging. I will get to those. But after that, the handle that you decide is up to you. As you've seen, I have the handle that I purchased from Amazon. Is just a chain. So this is a 9 on town purse. So if you do happen to have a chain like this, all I do when I attach chains like this is they usually come with a clasp, and I will clasp them on the side of the bag. Now you can make your own handle. You can make like a chain out of this yarn. I think that would look really good. It'd be really cute. Or you can do any type of handle that you want. But I made mine just to be kind of like a little, you know, not on the town bag, not to carry a lot. Just, I don't have nights on the town, so I don't know what people carry in them, but I'm assuming lipstick and stuff or whatever. Like that. Now, after I get all of these tails hidden, one last thing that I will add is a brush for closure. I will use this to close my bag. So it's just a brush. See? So when I want to close my bag, I will pin it to it. And that is how my bag will close. That's it. My bag's finished after I hide all these tails. And that's all there is to it. It's actually a really easy bag. And it's really cute for a night on the town. Look how sparkly that is. I like it. I think it turned out awesome. So if you like this and you're able to follow along, okay, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Show me a picture of this or anything else that you make from my tutorials. Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. There's links to both of those in the description box. And over there on the right hand side, I'm going to put a playlist of all my crochet tutorials. I have hundreds and hundreds of them. Check them out too. Lots of bags, lots of pretty much anything that you could ever want. I don't only just make bags. I have everything that you could want. I probably have it in multiples of them too. So thanks everybody for watching. Have a good night.